Connection established.
Hello, my name is Kimberly. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info Hard Fact Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
This is Nigeria Info.
All of our conversation, there's information, there's education, there's entertainment, there's up-to-speed news brought to you, and plenty of laughs also every now and again.
Exactly. I was going to add that. A bit of comedy to the to the talk as well.
Yes. So welcome to another amazing edition of Hard Facts, the Monday edition of it. We love Mondays, so we bring that energy and positivity into the Monday show.
Mm-hmm. It's my favorite day in the week, so yes, I'm always happy for Monday.
Yeah.
Totally. A great way to start the week and, of course, go on to achieve whatever it is that you have set for yourself. I mean, it's important to have goals every week. No pressure. Just take your time. Someone was asking about what one has achieved in the last 3 months. And I'm like, come on, don't put that pressure on anyone. Just be thankful that you are doing your best. Yeah, you are alive. That's something.
It's one thing that you were able to withstand the whole stress of the cash crunch. Is something for you to beat your chest and say, man, you're a survivor.
Yeah, you're doing something.
Because it was really rough for a lot of people. And, the election came. And it's going because it's not gone completely.
Not yet. Not yet. There's still that pressure. Yeah. People still having speculations as to how things could play out or not play out. But so far, so good. We're just hopeful that things go just good enough and everyone is at peace in the end. And of course, Nigeria goes on to be coming better in the nearest future. That's the only hope. This weekend has been, I wouldn't say interesting. It's been, I don't know, funny, weird in a sort of way. Having people share their 2 cents about varying issues that have been trending, which we'll get to talk about on Hard Facts today. And it just goes to show where people, where their minds are at this point in time and how much work Nigerians in general need to do to ensure that we come together as one and decide on the next, the best foot forward. It's really important that we just get to that point where, regardless of where you're from or what you believe in, we just have one common goal, which is the growth and development of Nigeria.
The Nigerian goal, the vision that we all should have for the country. Oh, well, welcome to the show. My name is Kimberly. Call me Kim, the Oracle, the digital Oracle that is, the fellow OTF Madam Speaker. And I'll say yes to them all. Itodo is here.
Yes, I am here. You can call me, I'm called Deacon. I was going to say you can call me Deacon, but yes, of course, Deacon. You can call me Deacon. And I'm always happy to be with you, Kim, talking about the hard facts and, stories making rounds and just generally having a good time.
That's great to know. Same here. All right, let's start off looking at some of the big stories driving conversation today. And for some reason, Nigerians can't stop talking, particularly on social media, about the fake, perceived as some as fake audio conversation, and others will tell you it's deep fake, and some would say it's not so much of it. According to the Vanguard, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, has distanced himself from a purported audio recording of a telephone conversation between him and the presiding bishop, Living Faith Church, Bishop David Oyedepo. According to Obi, the audio recording is a product of endless forgeries, peculiar, he said, to the APC. In the trending audio recording, there's an alleged conversation between Obi and the influential Christian cleric, in which the Labour Party candidate was purported to have asked the cleric to mobilize support for him ahead of the disputed election. Now, speaking through the head, Obidati Media Office, Diron Onifade in Abuja on Sunday, Obi said APC's desperate bid to grab and retain power using subterfuge must stop. And he said it appears the only The APC desperation to grab and retain power by foul means has refused to go away more than a month after they grabbed the election as they planned. While we're touring a constitutional path to retrieve our mandate, those who have truncated the wishes of the majority of Nigeria have recourse to mischief and endless subterfuge to continue to hold on to what they perceive does not what they know does not belong to them. From the show in Port Harcourt to the drama in Akwa Ibom, both of which they contrived, they have now moved to the circulation of deep fake audio files aimed at promoting religious tension in the country. All these are meant to serve no other purpose than egregious mischief aimed at demarketing Peter Obi. If the goal is to create a credibility problem, the ploy failed woefully. Peter Obi has long been on record as the only candidate who has urged the Nigerian electorate not to vote for him on the basis of religion. But, that controversy is still there because I recall at the start of it when the video went viral and the Yes Daddy started trending. Kenneth Okonkwo came out to say, all right, it's authentic. Some are saying authentic, but some part of it were distorted and merged in a sense to give, a certain connotation and narrative to it than what it is initially. And they were getting, from the PCC, Onifade saying that's not the case. I know that Oyedepo himself has spoken.
Yeah, he put out a statement yesterday stating the fact that he would never necessarily support or ask his followers to vote for anyone in particular. And people come to him for prayers, during the election period, which is something that he's always open to. So like you mentioned, it seems as though parts of that conversation was taken out of context. And people are asking, how safe are our conversations if, you think you're having a private conversation with someone and before you know it, you hear yourself online and you see that parts of it are taken out in a way to drive propaganda or an agenda, And we just people are waiting on Peter Obi himself to put out a statement. But his spokesperson, Kenneth Okonkwo, has done that. And a lot of people initially thought it was a fake.
Kenneth Okonkwo addressed his own bit. And I know he was supposed to go on one of the TV stations perhaps to address it further, but stepped down, except Diro Onifade's statement has been put out. Nothing else has come out to that regard.
It's not the first time we have seen audio like this come out. I mean, before the election, we saw various parties being accused of planning to rig the election. And further investigation into some of this audio came out to show that it was, voices taken from different interviews and merged together to seem a certain way. But then, going by what Kenneth Okonkwo addressed, it's a real audio, but then he explained further that stating that bits of it, chunks of it were taken out of context in a bid to push whatever propaganda those who released the audio are trying to achieve.
And talking about it, I know I saw, I think it was on the Daily Post, where Valentine Obieyem, media aide to Peter Obi, presidential candidate of Labour, has identified the person who leaked his principal's conversation with David Oyedepo, founder of Winners Trap, where he accused their Newi prodigal son, saying the audio was edited out of context. So perhaps they have an idea of who or not. One isn't really sure. But then you asked a valid question as to the privacy of the conversations that we have. And I actually saw a lot of people who are looking at conversation and saying, if it's WhatsApp call, it has end-to-end encryption, so you can't, a third party can't barge in or record or something. Because when the audio came out, I said, well, if there's any fact to this and it's not doctored, you start to wonder, how did it come out? Because Peter Obi does not strike me like one who would record a conversation and put it out there. Neither does the bishop himself. So the big question is, how did it come out? And then the context also of whatever it is they put out. I know that for social media, it's more of the frenzy of the yes daddy that was said repeatedly. But what was really said, would it be said to be totally outrageous, out of line, and capable of destabilizing the country if, for example, to go with what was put out in the audio and saying, mobilize Christian, vote for me. We know that religion played a very critical role in the 2023 election, starting from the Muslim ticket up onto how it played out. The religious and ethnic dimension was so prominent in the 2023 election. You start to really wonder, is it really weird and out of place if it went in that trajectory to say, mobilize voters from this region? And the bishop has said, well, the people came to him, and I'm sure he would bless them and wish them all the very best.
Now, endorsements played a huge role in the elections. The various party stakeholders going to different quarters and statesmen to get the endorsements and a bit to maybe influence those who look up to them to vote for a certain party. So if he was indeed looking for an endorsement from the man of God in question right now, it's a normal thing, right? It was nothing out of context. But it would also be great to maybe hear the complete audio, if that's so that people can draw their conclusion to better understand what indeed was being discussed. Because the bits and pieces we hear do not necessarily give a wholesome idea. It was just, we need your support to do X, Y, Z. Talk to these people who look up to you, and that's pretty much it. So somewhat requesting or asking the man of God for an endorsement, indirectly. A day, it was a conversation had a day to the election. So we just love to hear the total conversation and understand better what's going on.
And the big question of how it leaks also should be unraveled. So knowing if there are people who are deliberately just planted to intercept phone calls, is the general thing that Nigerians should be concerned about, or just mischief makers looking at how to stir up trouble and sentiment. And it's interesting, a lot of people have brought this dimension. It feels like the face-off at this point in time is between the Labour Party, the APC, and the Labour Party. And I've read a lot of, thoughts being shared as to where is PDP in all of this. If you notice that a lot of the banter and all of that is going out, even on the social media space, I bet even on radio. I mean, you hear people called. You get to find out that you're looking more at the place of Labour Party as the main opposition. And they came third in the race, going by, the numbers that was put out by the electoral umpire. Third. So you start to really wonder why there's more interest in what number 3 is about
to number 1.
Yes. Why is number 3 more of a threat to number 1 and number 2 seemingly quiet in all of this? Is it because you have more of the people movement on the part of the Labour Party in terms of the obedient movement, people movement, and affiliates? What makes it, stand out from the PDP, which, if you're going to look at the sequence of things, you say naturally, if you were to go to court, perhaps the second person will come in. But yeah, we had Imo State where number 3 became number 1. So
number
people
4
can
actually
say number 4
became number 1.
Yeah, a jump can happen or not at the end of the day.
Well, we'll just see how things play out, but it's important that you get the whole conversation and be objective, not jumping into conclusion because you heard a bit of the story or a bit of the audio. Listen to all of it in its entirety. Keep an open mind.
Well, there's no all of it. It's what's been put out.
What we have right now. What we have right now. Because people just listen to a few seconds first and jump on making a conclusion. So it's important that you understand the story, understand the context of the conversation, and before you go on to reach that conclusion. But then everyone has got who they support, and when they're sharing their thoughts, it would likely be in support of those that they've got who have got their support, actually. So I think it's important that we just, keep an open mind and be objective in general.
Indeed. All right, we'll get your take on that story in a bit. Let's move on to another story, and one that is also driving conversation, and that is the one around the firefighting vehicle, where the recent commissioning of, 10 high-capacity firefighting vehicles by the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, beg your pardon, has been met with mixed reaction. Let's get the details to it.
Well, while some have commended the move as a step towards improving safety and emergency response at airports across the country, others have raised concerns about the cost of the vehicles and whether they are truly necessary. Now, Sirika had on Sunday via his official Twitter handle announced that he had just commissioned 10 firefighting trucks worth 12 billion naira. However, Nigerians on social media reacted to the post. I mean, their major concern was, why are you spending that much? 12 billion naira on just 15 trucks? Or what is the price, the unit price of one fighting truck? I mean, 10 to 12 billion, that's a lot of money. But then there are other things on the side, which they also spend money on, ambulances and all that. I would also assume that they'd also have to go on trainings for those who will be operating the machinery. But looking into the firefighting incident, it's important that we are able to invest and, be proactive as opposed to waiting for things to get out of line. We remember the case of the plane crash in 2006, or Soliso. And, reports had it that if we had effective firefighting skills and water available at the time, many people who eventually died, God rest their souls, would have been alive and saved in that tragic event. So, before we jump into conclusion, okay, maybe he made a mistake by going onto Twitter to just give the figures.
No, it can be a mistake.
Giving a breakdown.
It's his official Twitter handle. You expect to get information coming firsthand from him that you can work with. Well, maybe talked about the breakdown, and then some people are trying to... The breakdown you're asking in terms of what the value of one is?
No, so breakdown as to everything that the 12 billion contains or was used for. Because when you say 10 trucks, there are other things on the side which you also pay for, not just the 10 firefighting trucks. So
you're the one who is explaining.
Well,
at this point,
yeah,
you're trying very hard to justify the 12 billion at this point. That's to say, you also do not accept that 12 billion.
It would cost this much.
It will cost this much for 10 fire trucks. So there need to be other things, training, ambulances, and all in between to justify. And I think that's where a lot of Nigerians are coming from to say, but like you pointed out, maybe if there was a breakdown to say, okay, this is exactly what it entails, and this is what is going to cost one of the fire trucks and the training and all whatnot, perhaps. But the thing is, Nigerians have become so cynical and highly critical of whatever the government does, to a point where even if it was broken down, the next question will be, is it absolutely needed? Why are you acquiring it or approving it at the twilight of your administration? Why not? Why didn't you do it all this while? There will always be that question. And these are also very legitimate, valid questions to ask nonetheless, as to why now and the likes of it. But yeah, I saw a lot of people who went Sherlock Holmes and breaking down and investigating how much it cost in dollar, naira, pounds, and even yen to get a firefighter truck. And a lot of Nigerians will tell you it doesn't cost half as much as the figure that is put out. But we do have a reputation for over bloated figures when it comes to even contract, procurement, and the likes of it. They're usually exaggerated figures that we see. So people are coming from that point of view to saying this just might want to be one of those projects where you say you get 10 of these firefighter trucks, and at the end of the day, it's just a way of just mopping up whatever excess funds there is within the ministry or the approval body, to just, clear out, balance your books properly before you hand over to the next government. But do you need a firefighter truck? Yes, you do.
Very important, very necessary, actually. But then again, it's not just buying these trucks or buying this machinery. It's about being able to maintain them and put them to utmost use, I beg your pardon, when the need arises. Because we see these things, we have them available, but when it's time to put them into effective use, it's found wanting. It's nowhere to be found. So I think it's important that in buying, there's also the maintenance in place, and those who are needed to operate them are also trained in the most effective way. And
but they should already have trained people. It's not as if we're acquiring them all of a sudden. You need to get people. It's a firefighter's truck.
Well,
you get people. You acquire it. It's absolutely necessary in your airport environment and the likes of it. And, it's one thing also to interrogate and say, do we have orders before? What shape are they in at the moment? When last did we acquire any? You don't need a plane to crash before you start to ask, oh, how come we didn't have this? How come we didn't have that? So this is just being very proactive to saying, if we didn't have enough, supply more. Absolutely necessary. But then they need to also be able to justify the figures. I think that's where Nigerians are coming from. The fact that we're about 77 trillion in debt, if when the president leaves with the ways and means, I mean, am I right to the figure? I need to establish
about
that.
77 trillion, yes.
So people have a right to ask questions about monies at this point in time. We'll go on a very quick break. When we return, we'll get your point of view as we look at one more story. Stay with us. It's the Roundtable.
Informative, exciting. This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
Nothing breaks the news like the news. Trust me, I can prove it. I do it every morning on Morning Crossfire from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Nigeria Info 95.1, and I'm Femi D. Amede. Join the biggest conversation around national politics every day in a way that is trustworthy, full of passion, and yes, covers the biggest politics and the stories that matter to you. See, you have all the reasons to find out what's going on in Nigeria and be engaged differently. Let's talk. That's the way to go, even this morning.
Audio Jungle.
Connection established.
This is Nigeria Info.
trucks, and you get a rough average of what
It takes to purchase
get,
one.
yeah.
But the last time that Fan bought a fire truck or any truck at all was 15 years ago, which you'd say is a long time. But then if you had a good maintenance culture, 15 years ago is not such a long time, especially if you bought it brand new and you're able to maintain it the whole way through. So all of these questions are being asked by people who are interested in the figures and the money's being spent by the federal government. But of course, I'm hoping that the minister will be able to address these concerns and put our minds to rest. Yes.
Let's look at some comments quickly. We're on YouTube and Facebook, aren't we? Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
At Nigeria Info Abuja. Let's run through some comments quickly.
All right, let's go to Facebook right now. Joel F. Atta says, good afternoon, Kimberly, Itodo. He's watching from Kaduna. I see absolutely nothing wrong in that conversation. If it's true, that's reacting to the leaked conversation between Peter Obi and the bishop. Was the last election not a religious one? A ruling party brought in a same religion ticket. What were they expecting? I work in Kaduna. I see how religion is being used to do everything. Those attacking Peter Obi based on the conversation, if true and not being fair. Emmanuel Lazarus says, watching from Tashanalade in Howell, LGA in Borno State. Thank you for joining us. And Eddie Edu says, I've taken time to listen severally to the alleged Peter Obi's leaked audio, and I have these points to note. Phones do not record while dialing, so those who publish the audio should tell us how the dialing sound managed to find its way into the recording. Remember, it was an internal device recording and not an external device recording. As a reference point, check all leaked audio from the platform in the past. You can never hear the dialing sound. The audio was likely AI generated or a deepfake. You don't need to run it through deepware AI to know. You don't in any way start a call of such context with praise the Lord. Quote, every Christian knows this. Like, who does that? You don't call an influential person to help you deliver votes on the eve of the election. There's nothing he can do except talk to his people, and you want him to talk to his people in Kwara and Southwest to vote for you on the eve of the election. This sounds absurd to me, except he wanted the bishop to do something extraordinary about getting him votes. Peter Obi does not vote in Onisha, but in Agulu, but was heard in the audio saying he was in Onisha where he would vote. Remember, the context of the audio was on the eve of the election. And finally, as an influential person who wants to sway votes in your candidate's favor, you do not need a publication to that effect on the eve of the election. Edwin. And finally, right here, Williams Basi says, Madam Speaker and Itodo, good afternoon to you guys. Good afternoon to you as well.
All right then, and Ibrahim Hajara, always the first to leave a comment and emoji on YouTube. Thank you very much. Aliu Garikida says, well done, Kim and Itodo. Keep the good work. Thank you very much. Osita Prince from Kubwa, the Kim the Oracle, Golden Voice on Radio. Happy New Month to you. I wish you same also. And Madam Speaker and Itodo Virtue from Aso Drive, a purported leak audio conversation with Bishop Oyedepo is nothing but reverse psychology orchestrated to blackmail Peter Obi as an individual and as the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. It's now obvious Peter Gregory Obi of Labour Party is their biggest nightmare. Obi is really starving people, okay, them of air to breathe, okay? Kim and Itodo, Tinubu and APC cannot be, if you remember the fake bishop that was brought up during the public show of the VP, this new distraction will not strike out the case in court. Michael in Area 1. To me, the saga of Mr. Obi calling bishop is like campaign after election. Let's move on, please. And no amount, someone else, okay, Emeka from an NPC tower says, no amount of propaganda can divert my attention on judiciary concerning presidential election. I think that campaign has stopped, but it seemed like it's still going on for the APC. If not, why always Obi day after day? Why is there so much restlessness seeing that they've won the election? All I know is that the new Nigeria has been born on the 25th of February. We are just waiting on the judiciary to do the needful. And, okay. Poor management. Let them investigate how the government fund is looted. What story are you reacting to? Sabi boy.
That would be to the fire truck and the money spent. That could be it.
Where is it coming with the looted from at this point in time?
I wouldn't know.
You're a little ahead of yourself. But, that's when I talked about cynicism and being skeptical about everything the government does to saying, particularly if it's happening last minute. The impression is just a mop-up
the
of
rush
the
is
funds.
a bit suspect when you think about it.
Yeah. Well done, Kim and Itodo, liar from Dakwa, about the video of Obi and the winner's pastor. I'm on my own, it's true because Obi went to offer to see Olofa of Ofa. Inside the video, the name of the offer came out. And if you check who voted Obi, okay. And did you say $12 billion for 10 firefighting trucks? Are we going to quench hellfire, just ordinary fire on earth? Is it dollars or naira?
No, it's naira. 12 billion naira.
Have you heard Leo? And I see Destiny Anthony is trying to call us from WhatsApp. Sonny from Garki. I see the leaked audio phone conversation between His Excellency Peter Obi and Pastor David Oyedepo at the beginning of tyrannical. Okay. And we may just watch out because it has an element of, dictatorial tendencies. They're just too scared of the fact that Obi's petition is in court. All right. That's Sonny from Gariki. And let's see here. Good afternoon, Madam Speaker. Tewase from Asokoro. My question is, what is the source of the purported audio? Was it Peter Obi or Bishop Oyedepo that recorded the audio? Secondly, if the purported audio is real, does it violate the Constitution of Nigeria? If yes, what section? This is another way of diverting Nigerian youth's attention from the main litigation in court. Quite simple, he said. Moses Simon from Maraba says, is our court independent? All nativity in our polity won't be happening with such impunity in the name of immunity. Okay. I do not understand. It's more like a tongue twister. Exactly. Like, what are you talking about, Oga? All right, we have one more story, but let's get some calls coming, and let's take about 3 phone calls. Then we get to the last story quickly. 0700 951 0000 or 0809 5974869 or 0809 9930137.
Hello.
0
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and to Kim as well.
Welcome.
Thank you. This is Mazi Destiny, and I want to come from a lighter note. I've been trying
Destiny,
to
we're getting
raise,
feedback. Destiny, we're getting feedback.
No.
We can hear your voice.
My radio is off, completely off.
Oh, it's from our end. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Destiny.
Okay, thank you. I said I'm more like a new voice now, speaking Fanti, Nyazoba, and Chin Chin. So, Kim, You join in the protest. Let's get justice for her. Now, I hear 10 to 12 billion for few firefighting trucks.
Yes.
It is too much. Way too much.
You bought one before?
But they still sell this. They have companies around that sell this thing. It's not like all of them are imported. Is this one just like the other person said? Are we going to pay? No. It's too much. It's too much. But most of these ministries, I think that let me not speak about any particular body. Most times, if the year is ending or maybe they want to leave office, they just want to finish whatever resources they have in their account. Let it not be that they left anything behind. So it doesn't really make sense. But on the audio between the Oyedepo and the Mr. B of the Labour Party, Kim, how come our politics will always drop to this level of trying to pick something to tarnish the image of your opponent? It's just because that you don't have anything. Why are you afraid? Why are you afraid? Just like you said, how come Obi is making the number one, giving more fear to him than number two? That the person who is supposed to give him headache is the person that came second. But everybody's eye is on the Obi guy. But if you're afraid that it's true that truly Obi said all those things that he said, I'm not a person who really cares. For me, I can't support him anymore. I can't be, because I just feel like, what are you saying? From what I heard from that conversation, are you that, I don't want to use any more, that you will not be answering anybody, yes, that, yeah, what is the meaning of that?
All right.
Thank you, sorry.
All right, Mazi.
Now, the big question is, what are the real issues that people are talking about raised? Because if it's the yes daddy one, it's really not an issue per se.
It's just you showing respect to the person.
Yeah,
I think
in
African
Christendom,
context.
particularly with clerics, if it's the Catholic, it's yes father goes on. And in Benue State, where a Catholic bishop became, governor, they're always talking about yes father, yes father. And most people refer to pastors as their daddy in the Lord. So if the response is yes, daddy, it's just a way to it's the honorifics that come with acknowledging them.
Would it have made any difference if you referred or responded to him as okay and his name, so okay Oyedepo, okay Pastor Oyedepo, or something of the sort? What difference would that make? We all know how we refer to those we revere as
What is
daddy.
the real issue in the video?
So
that should be the main talking point.
Yes, that's a question.
All right then, let's hear this caller. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon to you, Kim, and Mr. Itodo.
Good afternoon to you.
On the line. Yes, look, Kim, I think this government keeps surprising us and bringing up sudden, agenda, so to say, at the end of their exit. I don't understand what games are they playing with the citizens. Things that are supposed to have been done in these 8 years, they don't do it, and suddenly they are now bringing up budgets and all of that. Do you know that 46.2 trillion has been borrowed by this government? So what have they done with it? What is it? Buying trucks of that amount? Tell me, what at this time, all this while, didn't they thought about all these things? Look at the cash policy and all these sudden policies at this time of their exit. I don't understand the meaning of this. So they've impoverished Nigerians and brought despondency, hopelessness to Nigerians. So we don't understand these games they are playing. They keep borrowing money that will just put further destroy the economy.
But they didn't talk about borrowing to acquire this, did they? They just said, there'll be supply and it's valued at 12 billion naira. There was no talk about borrowing. But if you're talking about general internal and external debt, that's a different matter altogether. One more, and we'll look at the last story quickly and get more contributions. Hello.
Hello, Kim. Good evening.
Yes, you're welcome.
Good evening, Itodo.
Welcome to you.
Alex from Lambert.
Go ahead.
I think the issue of Obi and Oyedepo is just a mere blackmail. And the whole thing lacks facts and evidence to prove. So somebody is up to something. And I think Obi is becoming a nightmare to some politicians in this country. And it's very unfortunate. Politics elsewhere is not played this way. I think we should advance in our politics and do better. And talking about the vehicle that was purchased for billions. It's unfortunate that at this time they are spending such amount of money for purchase of vehicles. Just unfortunate. I don't know what the incoming government will do about this. I should really sympathize with the incoming government. The debts and all that on ground. Just too unfortunate. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
This is Baba Chesi from Gwagolada.
Welcome.
I am happy now because I have had the voice of Agaba Idu1 of Nigeria Info. The other day I was quarreling with Ochanya 1. I say, why should we allow this brother to leave her? This and that. He say, you are coming. You are now back. So I'm very, very happy now.
Thank you. Good to have you join us.
Yes, I am happy because I have set up a committee for your inauguration and the confirmation as Agaba Idu and then Ochanya. But unfortunately, no more. I've not been hearing your voice again. So what happened? So you are now back.
Yes.
And we will continue. Mm-hmm. And about politics we are talking about, I am praying that God is going to be our Supreme Court this time around. Myself and you, we can say something this and that without God's approval. It will not work. Is that not so? So by the special grace of God, everything will work this time around. Agaba Idu, you are welcome. Thank you and God bless you.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Mahmoud Mohammed on YouTube says, Kim and Itodo, please don't repeat what did the Always Confirmed Concours be neutral in your program. I don't think we even played it in the first instance. So what aspect are you concerned about? Good afternoon, Kim and Mr. Itodo. Please don't try to justify 12 billion on 10 firefighter trucks. Gabriel, that's for Mazi Sunday Kill. And Gabriel Ide says, good afternoon, Kim and Itodo. The APC should be more concerned on the petition at the election tribunal instead of chasing shadows. Johnson Olanikweku, good afternoon, Kim and Itodo. Well done work. Harrison Anil J. Peter Obi has now is he becoming a nightmare to the party and their camps? Kim and Itodo, thank you very much. Okay, let's see, do we have any more comments there? Let's go to the third story.
Okay, this has to do with the team building going on in Tinubu's camp right now. Tinubu begins team building, considers Gbajabiamila Chief of Staff. Now, ahead of his takeover on May 29th as the 16th president of Nigeria, the president-elect Bola Tinubu has begun team building with Speaker of the House of Reps, Femi Gbajabiamila, said to have been penciled in as his chief of staff. Also believed to be considered for some serious roles in the coming administration are his former commissioner for finance, Wale Edun, and the Kebbi State Governor, Atiku Bagudu, among other familiar faces currently being identified for different roles. Now, this is as a renowned playwright and popular Nobel laureate, Professor Wael Soyinka, also has warned Tinubu against failing to restructure the country, saying it was the only way out of the current national ordeal. Now, last year, Nigerians in the Diaspora Organization Americas, NIDOA, argued that by restructuring the nation, Nigeria's diversity in religion and culture will be leveraged as a positive source for development. The group maintained that the constitution was enacted by a decree of a former military head of state without recourse to the Nigerian people. Now, there have been various concerns and calls for this administration to ensure that it starts prepping who's going to handle what portfolio and, give names so people can know that they are better prepared and not just coming and wait for a while before that is handled like we saw in 2015. But with this, people are hopeful that the right persons, the right people are put into various roles and they're able to handle it in the best way possible. While he was giving his acceptance speech when he was giving his certificate of return, he called for other members of other parties to come together to ensure they're able to build Nigeria as one. And while some have been open to that, some parties are taking the case to court because they're open to contesting how the election played out. But in the run-up to the May 29th handover, we're going to see various things play out. Petitions being filed by various parties, supporters having, different thoughts as to how the election should have played out. And we also saw the interim government conversation coming to place as well, because the DSS warned that people were planning an interim government, which is against the constitution of the country. So all of these things are just a build-up to the handover May 29th, and security agencies have reassured that they're going to be able to handle whatever tension or pressure comes from people who are not happy with the president-elect right now.
Well, the president-elect does have ample time to put his cabinet from the kitchen cabinet, drawing up your list, and half the time it's political with people who have paid the dues, committed to ensuring that he won within the party and the likes of it. It'll be interesting to see the crop of people who are going to make the kitchen cabinet of the president-elect. It's also going to be interesting to see the crop of people who would be, eventually picked as provided by the Constitution to make up the ministerial cabinet also. The Constitution provides that each state provides one person. Are we going to get merger of ministries, or is it going to remain the same with the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he gets into office? Are we going to have new crop of people in setting offices, or is it going to be the same old faces that you are familiar with who have held, either office at the state level or just been in our faces and in the news constantly, who are going to become ministers? Are we going to see more women appointed into Bola Ahmed, the president-elect's cabinet? Is it going to be a bit more gender balanced, gender sensitive, gender friendly, seeing that the elective position for women was diminished also? And we saw where even some state houses of assembly, not a woman was elected into these state houses of assembly, and the percentage of women did not appreciate either at the National Assembly. So we're going to see the president-elect, appoint more women as ministers, more women in his inner circle appointment. It's something to look forward to. But naturally, there will be a lot of people who are, around the corridors of the people who will do the shortlisting. This is where the politicking gets interesting, particularly for those who feel like, I have paid my dues. I remember we were talking about it when the presidential candidate of the PDP came out, and it was talking about, if you apply yourself, you win your polling unit. That is the only way you can get an appointment. And then a lot of dust was raised. But at the end of the day, Nigerians, that is how it happens half the time. People call and say, you need to get a technocrat. Well, sometimes you get to see people who are brought in from the diaspora. I mean, we saw quite a number of that in Goodluck Jonathan's, where people are brought in and feel like they have the expertise to deliver on a certain ministry, area, or industry and the likes of it. So are we going to see the president-elect bring more technocrat from God knows where, who are not active politicians? I mean, we even heard how the SGF, it was in the news, so that I don't make it sound like a rumor, suspended in his own state, because they felt like, dude, what did you really do during this election? You did not deliver. Unit. So it felt like he should be suspended. And I'm like, why should you suspend him? They're busy with governance issues as the SGF and not much with politics. But, the politics of things you expected to deliver at the end of the day. So will the president-elect get people who were not directly in the forefront of ensuring his re-election from home or abroad? It'll be interesting to see the mix of people.
People are more concerned, Nigerians rather, are more concerned about the expertise of these people as opposed to a means of compensating them for, in quotes, the hard work they might have been involved in during the election or during the campaign season. It's important that we have people who are able to handle these ministries or these portfolios giving to them, and not just because they need to be there based on compensation. So hopefully, with the team bidding starting early enough, I hope this is early enough, we
hit the ground running. Nigerians will not forgive if you have to wait 6 months or even 6 weeks to put some of these things together. No. Ample time to build it up. And the speculation about considering Gbajabiamila as chief of staff, we'll see about that.
Well, there's also news about him deciding on what day the fuel subsidy will be taking off once he comes into office. I mean, remember that June 1st, that'll be the end of subsidy in Nigeria. The government will stop paying. That's a date captured in the budget. So let's hope and see how things play out and what day he decides, if any at all, that that should be taken out.
All right, then. Would see about that. I hope that he's strong and resting enough wherever he is right now. Is he back in the country or still in France?
Still resting.
Rest enough, because there's just so much for him to deal with once he gets back and gets into office. And, if it's sworn in on May 29, there's just a lot of work on his table already that he needs to hit the ground running. All right, let's go back to the phone line, shall we? 0700 951 0000. Or 0809-5974869 or 0803. Where did 3 come from? Or 0809-9930137.
Welcome to you.
Hello, good afternoon, Dickie Itodo.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Digital Oracle.
You're welcome, sir.
My name is Salasi. I want to talk about the decision of the government when they are going to remove the subsidy. Nobody is against the removal of the subsidy. But what these are saying, and I know the majority are saying the same thing, make our refinery work fast. I always say that. Is building a refinery a rocket science? The oldest refinery that was built in 1901 still functions to date. Niger, in no less than 36 months, they built brand new refinery and it's working. And we are here busy paying money for subsidy where our refinery they are not working. So what they should do is that they should make our refinery work. Then Nigerians will applaud them. But removing subsidy without making refinery work, I don't see that working in this country. These are the people that protest during the time of Jonathan. They occupy Lagos. They say the refinery must work before they will remove the subsidy. Now, they are talking of even this government for the past 8 years now, they are going without even the promise of that the refinery will start working by March. What happened? You, the journalists, should tell us. They promised us December. Now, March. Now we are in the month of April. None of our refinery is working.
All right.
Until they make refinery work, I'm telling you, the citizens will disagree with the removal of the fuel subsidy.
All right. Thank you very much, Salasi. Let's hear another caller.
Good afternoon.
Hello, Cam. Good evening. Good afternoon, and Itodo.
Welcome.
Hello?
You're welcome. Go ahead.
Hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Cam, this is 60, the good man. Cam, you see these people that are trying to, looking for where to invest people or something. They are up to something. Nigerians will not know this until they finally succeed. Came in this country, somebody came up with Muslim tickets. We asked questions. If the Christian will those who are supporting Muslim tickets, would they agree? Came some killer herdsmen went and killed people in Christians, some Christians in Kano State. They had it on the newspaper review this morning. You understand, Pastor Keys? Who are the people killing Nigerians, Christians across it?
All right, Austin. We didn't bring that story up. Let's not go somewhere else with the conversation this afternoon.
Welcome to you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is Brian from Airport.
Welcome.
In the 1980s, there was a group of musicians called Cool and the Gang. So if Tinubu is selecting his members, he is going to select his gang. That aside, I thought when you want to release the audio conversation of somebody, you have to go through the right channels. You go maybe through the security agencies before releasing. And what is the confidence reposed on the telecommunications in Nigeria? So anybody or any rascal can go in and do something and go scot-free. Again, in the aviation, mass communication or the media is one of the vast and one of the most intelligent sectors of life. That's why they have media correspondents on aviation.
Sorry about that. Welcome to you. Good afternoon.
Yes, Itodo, good afternoon.
Welcome.
Once more. It's Cashflow on the line.
Cashflow, you already contributed. We need to allow others contribute, please. Thank you. Hello?
Comedy Lounge returns this Easter Sunday at the Dome, Central Business.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
Connection established.
This is Nigeria Info.